Hello, my name is Kirioth, and this is what I have done with the Necron half of Indomitus so far. I've turned them into absolute nightmare freaks. So we'll start out with this lad, because this is the one that seems to be getting the most traction / attention. I am aware, I'll say right now, there are bits of him that need a good tidy up. There are still a few little mould lines and stuff on him. It's fine, I will get there. The bits that are like properly stuck together are cleaned, and the bits that aren't properly stuck together, we've got like the tiniest dab of super glue so that they can be very easily snapped off. I've got this amazing old bottle of super glue that's borderline useless. It just keeps things together enough to pose stuff, but then you can just take it apart again. It's surprisingly helpful. So this guy is essentially standing in for the Silent King. It's like a Silent King proxy. I want to use the Silent King's rules, whatever they are, but for something that is an absolute monstrosity, like a nightmare creature that has too many legs, that is leaning more towards the horror side of the Necron stuff than anything else. It's made from 2 reanimators, which seems excessive, but actually you can grab a reanimator off eBay for 13 quid, so I actually was pretty impressed by how cheap that was. So yeah, he's made of 2 reanimators. The second reanimator, mostly the legs were used. I've still got the other parts left over, which I'm planning to use for a really beefy Skorpekh Lord. The actual torso itself and the weapons, of course, are from the Skorpekh Lord as well. It's got some bits from various Nighthaunt kits that you get from Mortal Realms, acting as skin off the side. I thought it'd be fun if he had some tattered trophies of skin that he's taken from mortals that he's killed, just to really, emphasise the kind of horror side of things. The head is again a Nighthaunt thing, and the little weird tendrils coming out of the top of it, like the kind of tentacles, that is from the Van Saar kit. There's a bit of chain from a Daughters of Cain Bloodrack Shrine, I think it's called, and I also nicked just some little bits off one of the Crypt Thralls, just to add a bit of extra armour plating on the back, and to give him another set of claws on the front. So the little dangly claws that you would normally find on the Reanimator are attached to the Skorpekh Lord's hips, where the legs would have gone, with a second set of smaller Crypt Thrall claws like attached to those. Again, I wanted it to just look like a few too many limbs. Like, when it comes to combat, I like the idea of someone in the comments of the community section of the channel when I first posted this. They thought to get into combat, like so that he can actually use his massive blade and his awful claw hand, like hunkers down like one of those long-legged spiders and just scuttles towards you. I love that mental image. So when that was suggested, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to put another set of legs on there just to make that mental image even worse. So that's what I did. It's taken a while to put him together to a point where I'm satisfied with it. Helpfully, and I'm sure this was not intended, but God bless him for making it so easy, with a bit of trimming on the Reanimator, if you don't put the legs on the Skorpekh Lord, the socket for his rear leg actually fits the kind of neck section of the Reanimator perfectly. Like, he's not glued on the front there. Nothing's securing him to the front. He is just slotted onto that kind of weird long cable neck that the Reanimator has. And he is perfectly stable. You can slide him on and off, which is going to be so vital for painting. I've got no idea how I'm going to paint him. In fact, I'm not entirely sure how to paint them. I'm thinking once you've seen all the like weird conversion things I've done, maybe you'll have an idea as to how to paint them. So yeah, that's the kind of Silent King proxy, kind of. I just wanted something nightmarish, and I feel like I've made something nightmarish. He obviously needs his 2 attendants, which I think is an important thing to have on the model if it's going to properly be able to use the rules for the Silent King. So I'm thinking, I've got a box of Immortals. I might have 2 Necrons who have had like either their limbs removed or use some more Crypt Thrall bits to have them scuttle along, so they're like torsos, but scuttling along the ground in front of him. Because again, I feel like that would be kind of creepy and over the top, which is kind of what I'm going for. So yeah, you can see the bits of like Nighthaunt stuff that I've strapped on as to act as skin. It's good for torn skin. It works really well for that. So, given that I'd already like butchered a lot of it down for parts anyway, felt like using those bits was a good use of leftover parts. I also messed with the Overlord a little bit. I thought some sort of weird leg arrangement would be kind of fun for him. I was going to give him the Skorpekh Destroyer Lord's legs, but then he just looked like a weird Skorpekh Destroyer, so instead I went for like a bladed leg look, kind of inspired by the Unmade from Warcry. I like the way it's come out, because I'd originally had him standing a lot taller, and it kind of looked like I don't know, it kind of looked a bit more natural in a way. It looked more like the Unmade, but then I tweaked it a bit because I liked the idea of him kind of always leaning forward, like always looking like he's moving towards something. It's a pose that shouldn't really work, like he should overbalance and fall, but I wanted to keep the kind of unnatural, like incomprehensible nature of things, so I ended up posing it a bit forward, just so that he looked a bit more unnatural and a bit less like it should work in a way. Again, there's a bit of Nighthaunt stuff going on there. The legs themselves are made again from parts from I'm sure it's the Blood Rack Shrine, the one with the big cauldron of blood on it from the Daughters of Cain. I'm not sure which parts they are. They're just some spiky bits that fit the bill nicely. There's also, again, a bit of Nighthaunt stuff on the back to be painted up as torn and tattered skin. They're going to be blended in a bit better with some liquid green stuff and some texture paint just to add a bit extra to it. And I gave him an actual skull. Part of the feeling and kind of ideas behind this dynasty is that they don't agree. They don't agree with the Silent King and his goal to become mortal and to, you know, shed the forms that the Catan gave them. This lot are very much in favour of being borderline immortal killing machines, effectively. So they kind of take trophies and adapt themselves to look like the skeletons and corpses of mortal creatures, basically to take the piss and to mock. It's like, we can do this and we can wear your skin because you don't need it anymore. You're dead. We don't need this, but we're taking it because we want it. That kind of attitude. They're really not very pleasant at all, but you know. So yeah, not a huge amount of changes to the Overlord, but he looks creepy and weird, and that's good enough for me. So the Plasmancer was the first thing that I really went like full Nighthaunt with. I realised I had one of these, like, it was like a jail keeper. I forget what the name of the actual model is, but I had one lurking around, and the overall shape kind of fit the Plasmancer pretty well, so I didn't really have to do that much. I just snipped the head off, snipped the arms off. I found that with a bit of careful filing, the arms from the Plasmancer sat directly over where the elbows were anyway on this model. I was really happy with how quick and easy it was, and it looks pretty natural. The join is just right on this thing, and the cloth hides a lot. Now, of course, the cloth I'm going to paint as skin, and it's going to look stitched together because that would be more fun. I did nearly go for the full kind of symmetrical bits of whatever that is on top of the Plasmancer. Plasma coils? Let's say that. That's probably not what it is. But I kind of fancied it being asymmetrical. I thought that would look a bit stranger, a bit more kind of off-kilter. The collar is just from the Plasmancer with the dangly decorative bits. That slotted over where the head was previously really easily. And in fact, cutting the head off this one left a perfect flat surface to stick the Plasmancer's head over the top. Really quick and easy to do, actually. I was surprised by how easily adapted that was. So yeah, this guy, he's not going to have a huge amount of like metal on him. It's mostly going to be shredded and torn skin, painted, and kind of with a little bit of detail in here and there that kind of shows that it's been stitched together. And since the Plasmancer floats anyway, I didn't bother putting anything underneath it because he's already a bit weird and kind of incorporeal, so I felt like just leaving it how it was worked pretty well anyway. Quite a simple one to do, but I did like the outcome out of this one. So with the Royal Warden, I don't know why I decided I wanted like a creepy hunchback. I don't know why I decided that. I don't know what part of Royal Warden made me think, oh, what if it's like a weird twisted kind of court official or something. And I had no idea how to do that, and then I remembered that I still had another Nighthaunt model that had like a properly hunched over back, similar to the Plasmancer, but it could be made a bit more pronounced. I actually experimented with this guy firstly by just putting the front of the torso onto it, but it didn't look hunched and deformed enough, so I ended up actually putting the torso together properly and then slotting that onto the main body of the Nighthaunt model. I also took the I think if I remember right, the spine bit that comes over his head is supposed to go like up his back and end towards the back of his head, but again, I really wanted to kind of emphasize the hunched over and just creepy nature of it, so I ended up using it over the top instead. I still had the bit of like spinal cord left over from the Plasmancer because I didn't use it in that model in the end, so I slotted that on the inside of the Royal Warden's torso. So this one is the one that looks the furthest from what this model actually is, I think, by far. Well, aside from the Silent King proxy, who, by the way, is named Noctos. That was a suggestion off Twitter by Zetheranok, which is a great name, so I nicked it. So yeah, the Royal Warden is probably the biggest departure, because it's just outside of like a full-on clear like kit bash conversion, just because he went from being quite a stand-up lad who just looked like a bigger Necron warrior to a weird hunchback creature, which I'm all in favour of, but definitely the weirder, creepier one that I've done so far. Yeah, and again, skull, because he wants to mock the mortal races for their mortality, and also gives him a nice grin, to be honest. Okay, now we're on to the Skorpekh Destroyers, which I've not done a huge amount to. I've not like messed about them anywhere near as much as the Plasmancer or the Warden or even the Overlord, I guess. They've got some extra spiky bits, some extra stabby bits, again from a Nighthaunt kit. This lad has got 2 skulls instead of a single head, with no lower jaw. I did try them with lower jaw, but for some reason I felt like the lack of lower jaw made it a bit more nightmarish and a bit more creepy, so I went for that option instead. I actually quite like the double head option. I think it works quite well on these guys. It's probably best if you don't think too hard about how the spiky arms and the actual weapons are wielded at the same time. It's probably best not to get into it, really. This guy, I wasn't sure about at the start with the heads, but it's really grown on me. I quite like the way that's come out now. I was tempted to do a third one, but I think maybe two is enough. Again, a couple of bit of Nighthaunt scrappage going on there to act as skin hanging off them. I'm gonna get a bit of green stuff, I think, and put some kind of skin wrapped around the legs and maybe around the arms on some of them. I don't have enough Nighthaunt pieces to be doing this for every model. And besides, I kind of like some that isn't just dangling, but is wrapped instead. I feel like that could add quite a bit to them. As I say, I'm still not sure how to paint these now. I did have a scheme in mind, but it doesn't match up with the style of these guys at all. It just doesn't fit them, so yeah, I really need to work out how to paint them. Any suggestions would be gratefully received, to be honest. So this guy has got the head off a Nighthaunt thing. It's the female ghosties with the same kind of slicey, stabby arms that these guys have got. I have to admit, the Destroyers I really struggle to get together. I mean, these are supposed to be easy, like, you know, just snap fit. You don't need to glue them. They just go together, kind of thing. The Destroyers really, I found quite tricky to do. They just did not want to go together a lot of the time. So there's a few gaps and stuff I'm not massively happy with that I need to fill. But again, similar thing to the last one, not a huge amount in the way of changes. A bit of Nighthaunt scrap for skin. We've got the stabby, spiky claws, and a screaming skull that just stares into your soul as it rushes up to you and cuts you in half, which feels kind of appropriate for the Destroyers, to be honest. I do like that head the most. Of all of them, I like that head the most. And finally, this is the first Destroyer that I did anything with. I really liked the idea of it having like a kind of almost like a helmet type head with skin draped off it, so I gave it that Nighthaunt hat because that seemed to fit kind of well over the over where the head would be. Again, got a bit of Nighthorn scrap there for skin, and more spiky pointy bits from the same Nighthorn like kit that the face on the previous one came from. This was like the proof of concept one. This is the one where I put it together and I was like, yeah, no, I can do that across 3 of them. That'll be fun. Let's do that. Let's make them even more weird than they already were. So, yeah, that is the third destroyer, which I'm pretty happy with those guys. They're definitely a bit off, but then again, so is everything else in this force. So there you go, that is the Necron half of Indomitus that I've managed to get done so far. Would probably been a lot quicker if I wasn't busy sticking all sorts of random other kits into them, but that's like the characters and the Skorpekh Destroyers and stuff. Still need to do a couple of crypt thralls and the little Plasmancer lad. I'm sure these will end up looking just as deranged as the rest of it, frankly. I'm really enjoying these guys. I'm really enjoying them a lot. It's been a lot of fun messing about with them. And yeah, actually having a decent idea as to what I want to do with the Necron half has been kind of fun and refreshing, kind of working it out, because Necrons is an army that, you know, I had back in 3rd and I really loved, but since I got more into like kit bashing and converting and stuff, I never knew what to really do with them. I feel like I know what to do with them now, which is fun, it's enjoyable, it's something a bit different, it's a lot more... This is a lot more fiddly and it's requiring a bit more planning than a lot of the other stuff that I've done, so yeah, I'm really enjoying these guys. Let me know if you have any ideas for like paint schemes for these guys, because that would be super helpful. I'm really not sure how to paint them, what scheme to go for. Yeah, I don't know, something probably a bit, not like rusty, but like a bit grimy and a bit bloody maybe could be fun, but yeah, I'm just not really sure. So if you have any ideas, then do let me know in the comments down below. That'd be super helpful. And thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things. Patreon, if you'd like to subscribe, that would be very much appreciated. I realise it doesn't do much anymore, but it makes the number go up, and that's fun. So you can do that if you would like. As always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games that you can use to support the channel if you would like. And yeah, I will see you for the next one.